Okay, Recons video on Sunday, the 29th of October, 2023, just gone 7:14 a.m. Chicago time. Do hope you are doing well. So it's the weekend and time for another weekend futures market recap, where I go through 15 largest futures markets and I show you what I'm seeing on my charts. Do hope you had a good week's trading. We had some nice moves to the downside when we broke through the support levels that we were talking about in last weekend's video. I'm going to go through the Emini charts first, from the daily all the way down to the 15-minute and the 13,500 tip bar chart, before going on to the triple signals on the 15 different futures markets. So if the story from last weekend was that we were dangerously close to these important support levels and they might not hold, and we got the break this week, the story from this weekend's video is that we've got really positive bullish divergence patterns on better momentum. When we roll through the Emini charts, you'll see that the better momentum signals towards the end of the week are all extremely positive. The amount of selling that we've had at the end of last week has dramatically declined. It's not necessarily amateur bars down at the lows, but it's very shallow readings in better momentum. So let's have a look at those patterns as we roll through those different charts. Starting with the daily chart, this is the traditional view of the better indicators, everything to do with volume on the left-hand side, everything to do with price on the right-hand side. So the first thing to note is that these were the levels that we broke through with this week's activity. We were talking about support levels last weekend, low and intermediate time frame, and if those got broken to the downside, we would have a strong move to the downside. Now we're down about 120-25 points from those the close on the last weekend. So it's been a nice move to the downside. And on better momentum on the daily chart, we've also reached pretty significant levels here. We've got a reading of negative 6.1 million, which mirrors this exhaustion buy pattern that we had that led to the top in the market. We had an exhaustion buy pattern, and this reading was about 6.2, 6.3 million. We then put in a bearish divergence and Rambo patterns right at those highs, which led to the high at 4,600 that we've now dropped off from. So now we've got down at minus 6.1. It's a similar type read to the downside. We'll see over the next couple of days how that reading turns out and if we actually get an exhaustion sell pattern at that point. But apart from that read on the better momentum, there's nothing here on the daily chart that say that that's the end of the move down. We have to go to the lower time frame charts to start seeing those momentum patterns. So the next chart down is look at the 135-minute chart here. And here we've got potentially a support level coming in on the intermediate time frame. You can see here we've got the cross, we've got resistance to support that we're playing out. That's not a trending move on the way down here because this resistance level was above the support that we broke through. So that this isn't a pullback to end of trend move, which shows that the trending activity is maybe done on the downside when we start to put in cyclical patterns instead of trending patterns there. And on the way down here, you can see there's no, on the volume side of the equation, you can see there's no blue professional bars showing professionals stepping in. There's no amateur bars showing that the amateurs are getting wrong-footed, nothing like that. But the momentum pattern is really positive there at 57,000. So on the way down, we've run out of steam. That selling was actually not very strong. You can see a little bullish divergence pattern there on better momentum. If we back this up a little bit, the selling that we've had as we move down through those lows has been getting weaker and weaker every time here. So that's important. A 45-minute chart here, again, coming into those lows on Friday, you can see here the amount of selling was actually pretty weak. And here we're going to put in this resistance support at some point Monday, Tuesday, resistance to support on that intermediate time frame, and this pattern is the same pattern that we're seeing here on the intermediate time frames on the next chart up. So here is the highest time frame, resistance to support. On the 15-minute chart, we mark the beginning and ends of the weeks with vertical yellow lines. So this is what we were seeing at the end of last week. We dropped through those lows, we bounced back a little bit into an exhaustion buy bearish divergence pattern, flush, 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 amateur up bars here. Just go into that a little bit. Amateur testing at those highs, they get it wrong, bang, we drop down into these lows. And you can see here we put in pullback to end of trend on the intermediate time frame, and we've kept on busting through at these points down here. Another little pullback to end of trend. We're pretty overextended on the 15-minute chart here, and the amount of selling that we've got at the end of the day on Friday is positive 16,000. So that testing that we were doing right down here at the lows, we ran out of sellers, and in fact there was quite a lot of buying happening in those last 2 or 3 bars of the day on Friday. So that for me is pretty important. We could get a short covering rally. The professionals are already buying into those lows. potentially, and then we'll get a short covering rally that will eventually test down with a pullback to end of trend on this 15-minute chart. Because we're below the support on the highest time frame, we've got to go up and put in our pullback to end of trend and a final testing down into those lows. And then can we see the same thing happening on the tip bar chart here? So this is the 13,500 tip bar chart. Here we had our trending move, pullback to end of trend, pullback to end of trend on the intermediate time frame there to there. And as we pushed down into those lows, you can see the amount of selling that was happening was getting weaker and weaker at those points. And then by the end of Friday, the professionals starting to pick it up at those points. We actually end up with an exhaustion buy pattern, positive 21,000 at those lows down there. So what does that all mean? We have not done in terms of testing into those lows, because on the 13,500 tip bar chart, with this highest time frame here, we have to put in a pullback to end of trend on the highest time frame. So these thick lines have to go back up to positive 100, cross, and we'll have another push down. So there's going to be another push down. On the 15-minute chart, you can see exactly the same thing. These two lines have to go up to positive 100, and we'll have a final push down, pull back to end of trend. Where that happens, whether we get back up to 4250, 4300 or something like that before having that final push down, I'm not sure. But we have to put in that in order for this trending move to be finally over on these lower time frame charts. The selling that we had into the close on Friday was extremely weak. My guess is we're not going to go with an exhaustion sell pattern at this point. We're going to have a short covering rally, which could be quite violent, then comes up and finally makes those pullback to end of trend patterns on the way down. And then maybe on that final push down, we'll get those exhaustion sell signals. That's possible. But these readings were really quite strong for better momentum, the close on Friday. And I think that's going to be the story, the early part, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday of next week. So let's see, that's my best guess. We'll have a look at the triple signals on each of the 15 largest futures markets. When I went through these signals earlier on today, there weren't many that stood out to me. I think we're going to have to wait until the E-mini really starts to signal and these things will all start to come together. On the Euro chart here, we didn't have any signals this week, although we hopped out. These blue professional bars are those highs. No exhaustion buy at that point, so that's why we didn't get a triple signal on the way down here. But no blue professional bars with Thursday, Friday's activity down here at the lows. So we're not done in terms of the euro on the way down. British pound, what have we got here? We've got short signal after that rise into 123, but no blue professional bars there. Blue professional bars maybe coming in on the dips here and here and here on the British pound. So we'll have to wait and see if we get back up through 21.80 there on the British pound. Aussie dollar's been remarkably strong over the last couple of weeks. We've got triple signals going off on these lows, and you can see here the blue professional bars coming in here and here and here. So that's good, but we need to break back up above this 63 and a bit 64 level before we can really say that we've got a rally in place on the Aussie. Japanese yen, we had some signals at the beginning of this week that didn't go anywhere. We've come back down again. And again, we've got all these high volatility patterns on the Japanese yen over the last 2 or 3 weeks. There was this one in the prior week. There was this one this week, shaking out a lot of traders at those points. So it's interesting that we've actually signaled long. We've actually broken back above that area. Blue professional bars forcing us down and then almost U-turning it on the way up there. So Japanese yen. 13,500 tip bar chart. So this is the beginning of the week. We had a little bit of a signal to rally into those highs, but there are the blue professional bars that came in midweek and then we sold off here. We haven't put in the exhaustion sell patterns on the way down here. We've got exhaustion buy patterns going on, potentially signaling this short covering rally that we'll get at the beginning of this week. But let's wait and see how that plays out in the 13,500 tip bar chart. And 10 years. 10 years, yep, we had nice signal short at the beginning of the week here into these highs. Tested here, blue professional bars, stair-step trade, bang, we come down, and then into these lows, blue professional bars, exhaustion, sell, bullish divergence, oversold, and the triple signal pops up, bang, we rocketed ahead. So that's nice on the 10 years. So we're in an uptrend on the 10 year. Gold, we went above the 2000 level here. We got up to 2020 here. But no signals at these highs, no exhaustion buy patterns, no blue professional bars at the highs here. A little one there, so that's interesting on gold. On silver, what have we got here? Yet we had nice triple signals going on there at those highs. Not mirrored by the signals on gold, but we've really come off from the 24 level here, coming back up to test underneath that level. So let's see if we get a continuation of this move down on silver. Bitcoin's up at 34,000. We had a short signals midweek on this after maxing out with the exhaustion buy, blue professional bars into those highs. Didn't really go anywhere. We've actually had the reverse signal now. We've had blue professional bars coming at the lows here, come back above those blue professional bars. We've started to signal on the way back up again. So let's see if Bitcoin continues to rally into the 30,000s. Crude. Now, crude, we had signals short last week and we sold off from there. And then midway through this week, we've had signals long at this point. Not a lot of blue professional bars at those lows, and that exhaustion pattern was getting the move going at that point. So it's not a classic in terms of picking it up there. So not sure I'd call that a good signal on crude at those points. Natural gas, we didn't get a signal long here because it took us so long to break back above the trailing stop on Beta Prime here at those points. And then here we've had blue professional bars coming at 360 and continue to sell it down at 345. So natural gas is looking weak as well. And then copper. Copper, I don't think we've been seeing anything for the last 2 or 3 weeks there. So no signals on copper. And then the ags. The ags had a nice little run last week and then they maxed out and we've had signals short on corn here at the end of last week into the beginning of this week. And now we've had a reversal of that with signals long. Exhaustion sell, blue professional bars coming at the lows and the lows and the lows here. A little bit of a stair-step trade there, so that's looking good for a long trade in corn. Soybeans, similar thing, maxed out last week with signals short. Very volatile activity, huge amount of blue professional bars come in here. And then we've broken above that with signals long at those points, but this whole area needs to hold. We need to get back above this breakout level here at 1324 on soybeans, and I think wheat is pretty weak, yeah. So at the end of last week, beginning of this week, we had signals short there. It's just behind that end of trend signal there. Exhaustion buy, bearish divergence, overbought. We drop off pretty quickly. And we've come back down, no blue professional bars ending this move. So we're still in a downtrend on wheat. So there we go, a little bit of a mixed bag in terms of the triple signals on the futures charts. I think this one on the 10-year notes is looking interesting to me. Let's see if we get a continuation of that, continuing to rally on 10-year notes. And I think the other markets will fall in line once we get a direction in terms of the E-mini. So if I'm right, we get a little bit of a short covering rally on the E-mini first, and then that leads into a final test down into the lows. That could be interesting in terms of turning around some of these markets and giving us some more triple signals on particularly the Forex markets next week. So there we go. Hope your trading is going well and looking forward to next week's trade.